Hi, I'm Gretchen with the Catholic Company, and we're here with one of our Charlotte diocesan priests, Father Matthew Kauth, and we're just discussing with him the news of the resignation of the Holy Father, Pope Benedict XVI. And for our final segment, we just want to know what are some of the things you admire and appreciate about Pope Benedict XVI, and do you have any personal reflections or stories of sentimental nature about the Holy Father?
The Holy Father, I think one of his greatest characteristics, one of his strongest virtues, is his personal humility. A man that has risen to the level, of course, not only of being the Holy Father, but also prior to that his intellectual capacities and successes. And the fact that he has probably as his greatest attribute an unbelievable humility before the Word of God is striking. He himself has been the one to expound on several instances on the fact that the Holy Father is the one who protects, interprets, applies, expounds on the Word of God, but he doesn't create it. He doesn't reveal God. God has revealed himself already. And it's the Holy Father's job to protect what he's been given and to hand it on faithfully. As a result, the Holy Father has displayed himself and does display himself like that even in person. I've had the occasion to meet him on several occasions. The first time I was a young seminarian and he was still the cardinal of the CDF. And he was walking across the piazza back when he wasn't so famous and he could actually do so. And but I knew who he was, and I was a huge admirer of his. And so I asked him in German if he would give me his blessing. Now, evidently my German was, or is, so bad that he looked at me and smiled, and he said to me in English, "Where are you from?" So I said, "I'm from the United States." And he says, "Well, I knew that." So from my German, he knew that I was from the United States, which is not a compliment for my German, but nevertheless, he gave me his blessing and asked me to pray for him and asked me to be a good priest. I told him I was a seminarian. I met him several times later when I was in Rome studying, working on the doctorate, and there were occasions to meet him at different things. But one time, I wasn't in the area where he was going to come by, and I was at the end of the table as it was, so I didn't expect to see him or even to see him from a distance really. But they had fooled everyone, because where he always comes out from, where everyone's lined up waiting and doing what people normally do with these things, which is jockeying for position and nuns punching you and various things and trying to get in to see the Holy Father.
Very dignified, I bet.
Terribly, jumping over your head and what have you. So I said to our Lord on this one occasion, okay, I'm not gonna jump into the fray here. And I backed up, and I was on the opposite side of St. Peter's, and sure enough, completely unannounced, he comes around the corner.
Wow. And
I'm the only one there. Everyone was at the other end, right? And I thought I was being very humble and whatever, and it paid off. So he comes around the corner, and of course he had his guards with him, the Swiss guards and different attendees and of the Holy Father. But of course I just dropped to my knees, and he just looks at me, because I'm the only one there, and I grab his hands, and he looks what are you doing here? I've had the occasion of meeting him several times after. Once I was in a street by myself in Rome, and the streets were completely blocked off, and he was coming back from I don't know what, but I was wondering why there was no one in the streets, and I don't know how I got in, because the whole thing was obviously blocked off. And there was a bit of a blockade, so this stream of cars that came through, which had the police sirens on the way to lead the way in front of them, it had stopped somehow, which means that some motorini had collapsed or something on the way to St. Peter's, and it stopped the traffic. Well, I'm in front of this car, and I just happened to look in the car, and again, I'm the only one in the street, and oh, there he is. So he looks at me, and I look at him, and he just goes like this, and drives off. So that was one of the colloquial encounters. And then a couple of the times I met him, he was always very gracious. But very reserved. He knew who he was, and wasn't attempting to pretend as if he was anything more or less than my Father and the Holy Father. Very, very strong, but very reserved and very meek, quite frankly.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much for that, Father Kauth, and that concludes our three-part segment on Father Kauth, one of our Charlotte diocesan priests, and his thoughts on the resignation of the Holy Father. Thank you.